Hello, it's day 9 of our Christmas project. Let's see what we get from our Woodhouse randomizer. It's presents. Okay, so we're going to make these out of paper. So, how do you make a box out of paper? Let's try 2 rectangles. And then when you fold them together, it'll make a box. So fold it in 3 and then cut out the same size and shape, rectangle mostly. And then when you fold them together, it'll make a box. Well, no, then it'll have open edges all the way around, and that would take a lot of glue. So, let's see. Let's make sure they're the right size for under the tree. Those are a little bit big, but okay. And then let's take this shape and draw it onto a big chunk of paper. So put both rectangles and trace around it. I think I've seen people make boxes like this. So let's cut out 2. I guess I could have looked it up first, but it's okay. It's not a real box, it's the idea of a box. We can trim a couple of the edges a little bit. Okay, and then we have 2 so they kind of fit together and not all the edges will be open because it's in 2 pieces. Yeah. Okay, and yeah, this will work better. So put some glue on it and glue down the little flaps. Now it's a box. And then I don't know if we should paint it or wrap it with paper. Wrapping paper would be cute, but I don't know if I have any, and then it might change the color scheme of the room. So let's just keep going. Okay, let's make some pretend wrapping paper, like paper that will wrap. So it's wrapping paper. Maybe pink splotchy paper to match the pink color scheme. So let's mix up some pink and use a nice fluffy brush and kind of do the splashy thing. This made a huge mess too, but I do like the way it looks. It's just very light, but it's pink splashy paper. And then there's still paint left, so let's paint an extra sheet of paper. And then we'll see which one we like better for the wrapping paper. Okay, and then we need at least 2 presents, right? Let's try making a cylinder shape for a second present. So cut a rectangle and fold it around in a cylinder, like we did for the candles, but bigger. This one wasn't straight, I guess, because it's not lining up. But yeah, so we need it about that size. We don't want it to be too tall. So about that size. And then glue that together so it dries in a cylinder. And then we need the top and bottom parts, so let's cut little squares of paper and kind of glue those together with the cylinder in between, like we did for the snowman's hat. And then while that's drying, let's see about the wrapping part. So I actually like this streaky one better. The speckled one is cute. I'll use it for something, but it's not really visible enough for this. So let's use this one. How do we wrap presents? So you put it in the middle and fold it up the sides to make sure we have a big enough piece. But we don't want too much extra paper, then it won't fold pretty. So cut that part off and then measure it on the other side, and we need to cut this part off too. Now we have a nice square that's a little bit bigger than the box. And we can just put a little bit of glue here in the middle and fold it over. And then you make little triangles here so that it closes over this side, and put some glue there. Well, you know what? We should just use tape. That's what people use for wrapping presents, not glue. So let's get a little piece of tape and tape this closed, and then we won't have to wait for it to dry. Hooray, that one's done. Okay, and the cylinder one is mostly dry with its hat and feet, so let's trim up the edges of the square pieces so that it's round at the top and bottom. And then we can use this extra piece here of the wrapping paper that we cut off from this one and do the same thing. We wrap it around the cylinder part and then measure the ends and cut off the extra and wrap that up and put a piece of tape on it, and then fold it around the other side and put a piece of tape on it. And then we need like a bow. Well, yeah, a bow. Let's get our fabric and we'll cut a thin strip from it, and maybe the square one we'll just wrap it around and like tie it at the top. It kind of looks like a bow. And then I don't think that way will work for the cylinder one, so we have to make a bow. So another thin strip and then tie it into a bow. We want it to be a pretty bow with both of the sides being the pretty side of the fabric. But that's really hard. This fabric gets like stuck to itself and doesn't want to come through. So we'll just do the best that we can. It's kind of a bow shape, and then glue that on the top. What do you think is inside the presents? Well, you know, the pretend presents. And then the presents can sit right here under the tree. Okay, and let's glue on our word. And there's our presents. Hooray, presents! Thanks for watching. Have a happy day.